because I want to know, how is Aunt Helen feeling? Ask.com does not know how Aunt Helen is feeling, but the Lord God Almighty knows how Aunt Helen is feeling. Even though, you see, we're just a tiny blip on the radar in the total scheme of things, God pays attention to us. As the psalmist puts it in this New Revised Standard Version, God is mindful of us. And so what are we mortals? What is the Bible's concept of mankind? What is the Bible's concept of the human creature? Are we just that? Just tiny blips on the radar in the total scheme of things? Just very tiny blips. Well, I think we all need to etch into our minds and in our hearts verse 5 in this 8th Psalm. It reads, "Yet you have made them, you and me, a little lower than God, and crowned them, you and me, with glory and honor." How wonderful it is for us to be able to recognize that this morning, and to recognize especially that we are such an important part, a significant part of God's creation. Even though we're a little tiny part, still we have significance. God gives us that significance. This corresponds with the anthropology of Genesis, the first chapter in the creation story, doesn't it? You remember there how God creates the different parts of creation, and on each day, having looked at His handiwork, what does God say? God says, well, it's good. Day 1, it's good. Day 2, it's good. Day 3, it's good. Day 4, it's good. Day 5, it's good. Comes to day 6, what does God say? Looks at His handiwork. Humanity, human beings, the human creature. What does God say? Not only is it good, but it's very good. It's very good. And so we have this tremendous role to play here. God lifts us. God exalts us into such a high status, gives us tremendous vocation, gives us tremendous glory, crowns us with glory and honor. Oh, how wonderful it is for us to recognize our place, our unique place in God's creation. How wonderful it is for us to recognize and to keep in mind this exalted place that God puts us in, this exalted vocation that God gives to us, glory and honor. But still, so what? So what, Lane? So we're created a little lower than God. What difference does it make? Well, it makes a lot of difference, doesn't it? And you could preach a long sermon yourself about what difference it makes. It helps us it inspires us toward gratitude to have such a lofty place in God's universe. We could go on and on about that, but this morning let me focus on especially how it influences our interaction. For us to realize that each of God's persons, each of God's human beings are created just a little lower than God. It influences our interaction. For example, it was on about the 3rd day of that summer experience at the medical center that one of the rookie hospital chaplains received a message from the charge nurse in one of the wards where he served as a chaplain intern. The nurse wanted him to come and to visit with one of the patients there on the ward. She had undergone surgery, and she didn't have much family, it seemed like, and so maybe the hospital chaplain could help her in her recovery. And so the rookie chaplain went to that room, and he introduced himself to that woman. He had the visit with her, and after it was all over, he wrote, as he was required to do, a detailed report of that visit so that his supervisor and his classmates could supervise him and critique him about that visit. And so in the report, he wrote something very interesting. He said, well, I went to meet Mrs. X, we'll call her, and she was repulsive. He wrote in the paper, she was the ugliest woman I've ever met. She had a grotesque smile. She had terrible complexion. She was despicable. She was skin and bones. I wanted to escape. I wanted to get out of that room as fast as I could. I wanted to do anything else except have a visit with this woman. She was repulsive. She was the ugliest woman I'd ever met. But you know, then I remembered that assignment that we had on the first day of this summer experience. And I remembered how God creates all of us as just a little lower than God. And so I stayed there. And he went on to write, I'm glad that I stayed there because I think I ministered to her. I tried to minister to her, and I think I was at least a little bit effective. I think I served as God's priest in bridging that gap between God and her. I think, I suspect, I hope that I helped her remember God is mindful of her, even in her ugliness, even in her terrible situation, especially in her terrible situation. God is mindful of her. I'm glad I stayed there. I'm glad I visited with her. And he went on to admit, I'm glad also because for my own sake it helped me to act out an important lesson about what we are. We're not the center of the universe, are we? We're not right there at the center. God is there at the center of the universe. God is full of majesty. God is full of power. God is full of glory. But God also gives us a certain amount of glory. God also helps us to remember that we are created just a little lower than God. God gives you and me significance. You and I, my friends, are significant, and we're significant because God gives us significance. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy